Every body has a story to tell. But what happens when the body has no head, no arms, and no legs? How can the dead speak when they've been stripped of their identity? On a freezing winter night in 2015, while I was busy in the morgue, the life of a forensic doctor isn't like what you see in the movies. It's quiet, it's methodical. That night I was performing a routine but grim task, boiling bone fragments to determine the age of a deceased individual. The smell of steam and chemicals filled the room. Then, the phone rang. A discovery had been made at the river, a suitcase. And it wasn't full of clothes. The scene was haunting. The suitcase sat in the mud, its zipper forced open by the pressure of the water. When we looked inside, the air turned even colder. Inside were human remains, a young woman's, as we would later confirm. She was still dressed in a dark blue jacket, torn and waterlogged. Near the suitcase, a scrap of fabric clung to the weeds. The killer had gone to extraordinary lengths to ensure this person would never be identified. In the examination room, the evidence began to reveal its secrets. We estimated her age between 20 to 25 years. Height, roughly 155 to 160 centimeters. Average build, there were no surgical scars, no obvious marks of identity. But her lungs told a different story. They showed clear signs consistent with oxygen deprivation, patterns that forensic experts recognize immediately. The cause of death, mechanical asphyxiation. She had been killed before her remains were concealed. The forensic evidence also made one thing clear. Whoever was responsible had no medical knowledge whatsoever. This was not a calculated act of precision, it was panic. The investigation hit a wall immediately. No head meant no face, and no face meant no name. But as we processed the DNA, we found a microscopic secret hidden deep within the victim's body. A secret that would change the entire course of the investigation. Hidden in the victim's womb was a biological witness. DNA from a male. She was pregnant, barely 2 weeks. This changed everything. This wasn't just one victim, it was two. And now we had the killer's genetic signature before we even had a suspect. But who was she? We posted flyers everywhere. Missing, female, 2025, dark blue jacket. Silence. For months, there was nothing but silence. We had to think like the killer. We conducted an experiment, dropping a 20-kilogram suitcase from a bridge into the river. Upon impact, the suitcase burst open instantly. This meant the killer didn't throw it from a bridge. They must have walked down to the water's edge and gently pushed it in. We narrowed our search to the worker villages along the riverbank, within a 2 to 3 kilometer radius. We checked dozens of rented rooms, but found no trace of blood, no reaction to luminol. Months turned into a year. The case grew cold. I kept it in a special folder on my desk, the unsolved case. Every month, the team would meet, but we had nothing. It seemed like the killer had vanished into thin air. Then on November 5th, exactly 1 year later, a notification popped up on my phone. A message from the lead investigator. We found him. The DNA matched. It turned out he had gotten into a fight with a coworker. Someone called the police. When officers took his information and a blood sample, they had no idea they had just found the final piece of a year-old puzzle. The DNA was a perfect match. His name was Min. He was a migrant worker, thin and unassuming. The most shocking part? He never left. He stayed in the same village, in a room just 200 meters from where he dumped the body. He had been living his life right next to the scene of his crime for an entire year, betting that the nameless girl would stay forgotten. Min confessed. The victim was his girlfriend, Lan. They lived together in a tiny, cramped room. They fought constantly about money. When Lan told him she was pregnant and asked him to take responsibility, he didn't believe her. In a fit of rage, he took her life. I didn't mean to, he told us. It was just a mistake in the heat of the moment. But what he did next was no mistake. In a cold, desperate attempt to cover his tracks, he concealed her remains inside the very suitcase he had once bought for a trip they would never take. Min faced justice, but the tragedy didn't end there. Lan's family lived nearby, yet they hadn't realized she was gone for nearly a year. When they finally came to claim her remains, their only concern was whether they had to pay a storage fee. They didn't ask for justice, they asked about the bill. As a forensic doctor, I've seen many things. But what haunts me most is this. I spent a year looking for her. I knew every inch of her body, every strand of her DNA. But to this day, I still don't know what her face looked like. If you found this story compelling, please like and subscribe for more cases from the Forensic Files. Every victim deserves to be remembered. Until next time.